action.
Hello, I'm Luke Darcy. Welcome to Access All Areas. Upsets, thrilling finishes, controversy. We had it all on the weekend. And with me to dissect every one of the big issues from round 8 is Damien Barrett. Hello, Damo.
G'day, Das. I want to start with your old team, the Bulldogs. They've escaped the blowtorch to this point of the season, but 7 losses in a row, the last one being the worst one against the Gold Coast on the weekend. Don't forget they lost their last 11 of last year as well. So where are they at? I reckon they're in a pretty ordinary spot, Das.
Gold Coast one hurts, Damo. There's no question about that. You want to beat the sides that you think you can compete with. Look, personally, and obviously I'm connected because of my history there, but I actually understand the program now, and I think it's going to take some time. I saw them get 20 points away from Geelong about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I saw Jake Stringer come in, I saw Jackson McRae. I like the messages the coach gets out. I like the stability they've got as a board.
This, you can't. I mean, they've escaped all this scrutiny at this point because of Melbourne initially and then Brisbane to a lesser extent. Don't say it was a good loss to against the Geelong team, because it wasn't that good, and they've now lost 7 in a row.
Best team in the competition when you're a mile apart from them. Being competitive against them for longer periods is what you do when you rebuild a club. He's drafting players who are hard-nosed, who are competitive. He's turned players who couldn't play their roles really well. Liam Jones is a better player under him. Jordan Roughhead's a better player under him. I can see where they're going. They're going to get smashed up at times. Yep, the Gold Coast loss is disappointing, but it's not a catastrophe.
Where are they going? Where they're
going? They're going 3 or 4 years away from rebuilding lists. They played in prelim finals 3 times in a row, only 3 years ago, Damo. It takes time. It's the hardest time in the game to rebuild because of 2 expansion sides. You're not going to buy into the media circus and try and hype something that's not there, Damo, like you're trying to do right now.
No, I just think you're allowed to actually have some results along the way of the journey you're referring to, and they're not getting any at all, Das, I wouldn't have thought.
Fair enough. All right, there was a controversial free kick paid on the weekend. Let's take a listen. Adam Selwood, the big moment, North Melbourne versus West Coast. Second one was high, so they're not paying the first one here. They're talking about Andrew Swallow coming in.
Well, what's second one? What's he referring to, though?
Yeah, very, very good point you make, Damo, and I'm absolutely astounded by that. You know my thoughts on the umpiring decisions.
I do.
Occasionally you get them your way, occasionally you don't, and it's pretty boring at times to talk about it. But, Damo, I think the big issue, and I feel for the umpires at the moment, I mean this seriously, we change the rules too often. We change them without thought for the consequence of it. Slide rule, hand in the back wall, ruckman a metre apart, player entering the zone and putting his hands up. It is way too much for the game.
So the problem's not with what's going on in the 2 hours of a game. It's going on in offices,
Absolutely.
Is it?
I mean, trying to interpret now as an umpire, is that a slide? Is that high contact? Is that low contact? We need to give the game time to evolve naturally without socially engineering what happens out on the field. The umpiring department need to absolutely relax. I'm really excited about Mark Evans being there, and I hope he stands back and just gives the time, the game,
so
time to breathe.
Are you saying this problem is Adrian Anderson's problem from his former time as a footy ops manager?
I'm saying that the umpiring department and the Rules of the Game Committee, of which I was a part of in the past, have changed the rules far too often, and it makes the job of the umpires very, very difficult, and I think we need to have a good look at what we're doing.
And you think Mark Evans will Adrian Anderson?
I don't know Mark
this
well enough to know what his mantra is, but I hope as someone who's been involved at the coalface of footy at Hawthorn that he just stands back and lets the game flow a bit more than it has. Stop changing the rules so much. Slide rule is totally unnecessary. Hands in the back is still a debacle, and I think we should let the game evolve of its own course.
Yeah, Melbourne, for one of the few times this year, showed a bit of fight yesterday against Richmond. Take a look at this melee at half-time. I just want to draw your attention to that guy there, the runner for Melbourne. There, Andrew Nicholls just steps on the back foot there of Jake King. Don't think there's too much in that, but what's he doing in there, Das? He's not allowed to be there.
Not a big fan of runners getting involved in the play. I know that man, Andrew Nicholls, because I played with him at the Bulldogs.
So there's not much in this step. It was highlighted. I don't think there's too much in that, but he's not going to be well received for being in that.
Shouldn't be there, but he's also a development coach down there, so he's probably looking at his young player, Jordan Gibbs, but it's got a bit emotional. I thought, I just want to get him out there and make sure he's okay. But the message is you've got to stay out of it if you're a runner, can't get involved in those sort of situations.
The Pies, big win Saturday night against Geelong, and they did it on the back of just relentless pressure, Das.
Yeah, and I loved it, Damo. They've beaten Geelong the last 3 times. They devised their forward press around trying to find a way to beat this incredible side, the Cats. And Nathan Buckley was under the pump last week. He would have got the old videos out and said, this is what we can do. and if we apply the pressure long enough and hard enough, Geelong will second-guess themselves, and that's what happened on the weekend. They were sensational. Cats responded like the champion team they are in the third quarter. They kicked 8 goals to 2, but they've got a bit of a formula, the Pies, that really worries Geelong in big games.
And do you think what you've referred to there, putting the pressure on Geelong, is that the way to break them down?
It is.
First and
It's
foremost?
easier said than done,
Yeah.
Damo, because Geelong will just keep playing on. They'll keep going through the corridor, and they did that on the weekend. They're nearly good enough to win when they do that anyway. But it's really interesting that the Pies have got a way of dismantling this great side.
And another upset, and this was even bigger, was Brisbane's win over Essendon. Again, it had a theme of physicality around it, Dust, didn't it? It's a theme, though, in Brisbane's case, that's going to hurt them because they're going to have some issues with match review panel findings today. This is one of those issues here. Merritt has to go, in my opinion, Dust, for this sling tackle on Hurley. Hurley was subbed out of the game with a concussion, and this incident here, Justin Clark coming in there late, he has to go for that as well. Is it sometimes the cost worth it, Dust, when you go in with that mindset?
Absolutely. And I've got no doubt that Michael Voss, another coach under pressure, one of the hardest competitors I've ever seen play the game, and I think Jonathan Brown, Simon Black, I think they got together and said, we need to make a stand for our coach. Yep, they'll probably lose Merritt. That's a sling tackle.
So you don't mind that theory? Go in and...
Sometimes as a club, you've got to make a stand and say, you know, we're not easy beats anymore. We can compete with the tough sides, and well done, and rap for Michael Voss the way his side played for him.
Yep. The ASADA investigation into Essendon, it's clearly now and factually now playing on the minds of these players, Dust. They hadn't lost a game, as we know, until 2 weeks ago. Those 2 losses they've now had in succession have coincided with 2 weeks of very heavy interviewing with the ASADA. There's still at least 1 week to go. There might be more. Some interviews are going 3.5 hours.
And Damo, hearing you talk about this over the weekend, are ASADA aggressive with the players, trying to get them to second guess some of the evidence that's been provided before?
Well, maybe not so much aggressive, Dust, but what they are doing is presenting a version of events that is different to the ones that the players think they knew. Now, that just may well be ASADA trying to get information out of the players, not necessarily questioning them, but there are certain substances that are being told to the players from ASADA that they were not aware of. And again, it's as much a health issue as it is a performance-enhancing issue. And ASADA's charter is the performance-enhancing side of it. But what is troubling for the players, and again, this is fact, Dust, they're coming out of those meetings with a disturbed mind as to what side effects are potentially in play years down the track. And there's no answers. They ask the questions themselves privately outside this investigation. The answers are not there for them right now as to what side effects there are with some of these substances.
You would think at some point that gets to the Essendon players, and it may catch up with them as the year goes on. One of the great highlights of the year for me, Nick Natanui's mark. Now, a minute and 8 to go. This is the first contest where Aaron Black takes the mark. Natanui's been open to say after the game that he was really disappointed with himself. And we'll slow it down. We'll highlight Nick Nat. He was within the frame and he beat himself up. He said, I had to have gone for that footy. Look what happens next time. Look at him just bear down on this footy, launch from nowhere. No one else in the game is probably athletic enough to pull that off.
No.
Brilliant highlight. Sensational to see Natanu'i up and flying, and the goal and the celebration, Damo, absolutely loved.
Yeah, and he had done that, Dust, on the back of no pre-season. He's only 3 matches back into his 2013 season.
Absolute star. Bit of a worry for the team you barrack for, Damo, North Melbourne. Here's their record against top 8 sides. They're 3-11.
Yep.
5 losses this year. I mean, a lot of them are. We're talking. You know, a free kick goes the other way. They probably win on the weekend. They've been close, pushed the good sides, but you know, with 6 more opportunities against good sides this year, you think they have to.
There's a bit of coulda, shoulda, woulda, isn't there? It's emerging. I mean, they've had, as you say, narrow losses. Geelong, Hawthorn, and now West Coast. I mean, they're good losses. They were good against Collingwood. They're actually good against the Swans for 3 quarters, but. You've got to win them, Das. It's a season where they could finish high if they start winning those games.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they're on the right path, but need to win some close ones. Bit of ruck aggression, Dame, I'm a fan of. Mark Jamar, they haven't had a lot to get excited about at Melbourne, and it's a free kick.
You're a fan of ruck aggression. You can't be a fan of that act.
I'm not sure you want to kick someone in the groin, ideally, but his side's struggling. They've had nothing like a serious competitor around. Sometimes you need to go in, Damo, and just Dean Cox.
Aggression is not the solution to everything, Das. It's not the solution to everything.
Sometimes it makes you feel good for a little while, when you can move on. Hey, don't forget to keep clicking back to AFL.com for the latest news and great video content right throughout the week. We'll be back next Monday for another edition of Access or Areas. Until then, it's bye for now.